Hello everyone! Excluding my introduction video, welcome to the first video of Money with Maya. I was quite excited while preparing this video. I hope you share my excitement. Let's get straight to the topic. Think about the most important things you learned in school. You learned how to find X. You learned that the mitochondria are the energy center of the cell. You probably memorized the dates of wars that ended before your grandparents were born. But what I want you to think about right now is this. Did anyone ever sit down and explain to you how a credit card works? Did anyone ever explain to you what happens to your money when it sits in a checking account for years? Did any teacher, class, or required curriculum ever explain compound interest in a way that made you feel like your future depended on understanding it? Because it does. I'm guessing the answer is no. And I want you to stay with me today, because by the end of this video, you'll understand something I spent years trying to figure out on my own. You'll understand why you weren't taught anything about money, what this silence really cost you, and what changed the moment you started filling that void yourself. Let me be clear, I have no intention of blaming anyone here. This is not a video about anger or victimhood. This is a video about waking up and deciding to become someone who understands the game they're playing. So, let's start from the beginning. Most of us grew up in homes where money was either a source of stress or a topic that was never discussed. Maybe your parents argued about it behind closed doors. Maybe you felt tense about bills without ever understanding why. Maybe money was treated not as a tool to be understood, but as a pressure to be managed quietly, almost like something shameful. And so, without ever receiving the user manual, you took on the emotional burden of money. Then you went to school. And school, for all its value, was not designed to teach you how to build a financial life. Historically, it was designed to train workers. It was set up to create people who could follow instructions, obey rules, and show up to work on time. Understanding the economy, how wealth is created, how debt works as a system, how banks make money off your money, was not part of the plan. I remember the day I got my first credit card. I was 21. Someone sitting at a table outside the campus building handed me a form, told me I'd get a free t-shirt if I signed up, that I could build a credit score, that it would be beneficial, and I thought, sure, why not? I didn't understand APR. I didn't understand minimum payments. I didn't understand that paying the minimum on a credit card balance is almost the same as paying nothing at all, that interest compounds, and a few $100s in debt can quietly turn into something you can't get rid of for years if you only make the required minimum payment. No one told me this, and I don't think it was an accident. Here's something worth dwelling on. Financial products, credit cards, loans, certain investment accounts, overdraft fees, payday loans. These are businesses. They generate income. And in most cases, they generate the most income when the people using them don't fully understand how they work. Someone who understands compound interest and minimum payments pays off their credit card every month. Someone who doesn't understand it can't pay off their debt for years. One of these customers is much more profitable than the other. I'm not saying there's a villain in this story. I'm saying there's an incentive structure. And in that structure, widespread financial literacy has never been a priority for the systems that shape your education. Now hold on a second, because I know what some of you are thinking. You might be thinking, okay, but I'm an adult now. I can look these things up on Google. Yes, you can. But here's the problem. When you don't know what you don't know what to look for. Financial literacy isn't just a set of facts. It's a framework. It's a way of seeing your money, your decisions, your future, and your connections through a lens that makes them visible. Without that framework, you could read 10 articles about investing and still feel completely lost because no one has taught you the underlying structure that ties the pieces together. 9 out of 10 words in those articles will sound like French to you. This is the true cost of never being taught. It's not just about not knowing specific facts. It's about lacking the mental model that enables you to make financial decisions with confidence. And in this absence, most people do one of two things. Either they avoid financial decisions altogether, they put off saving for retirement, ignore their investment accounts, assume credit card debt will magically disappear. Or they make decisions based on what feels emotionally right, which is almost always the opposite of what makes mathematical sense. Let me give you an example I've thought about a lot. Consider two people. They're the same age, let's say 22, same starting salary. The first person, let's call her Jess, starts putting a small amount of money into a retirement account every month. Not much, maybe $50 a month at first, slowly increasing over time. She's not completely clued in, but she figures investing can't be a bad idea. The second person, let's call him Marcus, thinks about starting. He thinks he'll get his retirement sorted out when he's more financially stable. When he gets a raise. When he pays off his car loan. When his life settles down a bit. And those moments come and go, while retirement keeps getting postponed. By the time they both reach their 40s, the difference between them isn't just financial, it's psychological too. Jess has 20 years of compound growth behind her. Marcus has 20 years of compound delay. Marcus isn't a bad person. He's not lazy either. He was never given the necessary framework to understand that waiting costs not only money, but also time. And in this context, time is the most valuable variable in the entire equation. Since this is a common issue for most people, I want to explore it. You may be like Marcus right now. You may be in your 30s or 40s, someone who is just beginning to understand the things you wish you had known at 22. And if so, I want to say this as clearly as possible. The worst thing you can do right now is to do nothing, because you already feel like you've lost too much time. That feeling is understandable. It's also a trap. The second best time to start is always now. Always. Being late doesn't mean the math stops working in your favor. It just means you need to adopt this habit more urgently and more decisively. The worst thing you can do right now is to say, "I'm already late. I might as well not invest." The important thing is not to feel bad about what you don't know. The important thing is to use what you know right now. So what does this really mean? When you start building a financial framework, when you shift from being financially reactive to financially literate, what changes? The first thing that changes is your perspective on financial products. You stop seeing your credit card as free money or even a convenience, and you start seeing it as a product with a business model that rewards you when you use it strategically and charges you when you don't. This change alone can save you thousands of dollars over a lifetime. The second thing that changes is how you make decisions under pressure. When you understand the difference between assets and liabilities, when you realize that some purchases lose value the moment you make them, while others can gain value, you start asking different questions before spending. Not just, "Can I afford this?" but, "What will this actually cost me over time?" The third thing, and this is what people talk about the least, is that your feelings change. Financial anxiety is one of the most common and most silently debilitating types of stress in modern life. And a significant part of that anxiety isn't about not having enough money, it's about not understanding money. It's about feeling like the rules of a game you have to play were never explained to you. When you start to understand those rules, even imperfectly, even slowly, things change. The anxiety doesn't go away, but its form changes. It stops being just a weight on your chest and becomes something you can work with. I want to be honest with you about something. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say here should be taken as personal financial advice. What I offer is something different: context, framework, an honest conversation of the kind most of us never had growing up. If you are making important financial decisions, please talk to a professional who can look at your actual situation. However, based on everything I've learned and experienced, I can tell you this. The most important financial move most people can make has nothing to do with a specific account, a specific investment, or a specific strategy. It's about deciding to become financially literate. It's about deciding to understand these issues, not perfectly, not all at once, but steadily. It's about committing yourself to the ongoing process of learning the language of money, to free yourself from systems you don't understand, and start making decisions with your eyes wide open. Because here's the thing, the people who set up these systems, they understand them completely. Banks understand compound interest. Lenders understand minimum payments. Credit card companies fully understand how reward structures work and who actually profits from them. The information gap between you and these institutions is not neutral. It has a cost, and that cost is paid by the uninformed. Closing this gap, even a little, even slowly, is one of the most meaningful things you can do financially. Because knowledge alone doesn't put money in your account, but knowledge changes behavior. And over the years, accumulated behavior is where financial outcomes emerge. I'll leave you with that. Think of something you didn't understand 5 years ago, but you understand now. It doesn't have to be about money, it could be anything. How to behave in a relationship, perhaps a skill that helps in your career. How your mind works in certain situations. And think about how differently you perceive the world because of this understanding. Think about how many different decisions you make almost automatically because you know this context. This is what financial literacy does when it becomes part of how you see things. It doesn't make money simple. Money is truly complex, and anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to sell you something. But it makes money manageable. It gives you a foundation in an area where most people only guess, or worse, avoid. They never taught you this. It's real and important. But now you're here. And that's important. If this resonates with you, if a specific part of this article connects with your own life, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What's the money topic you wish someone had explained to you earlier? Let's talk about it.